Hello and welcome to this quick CSS demo. At least I hope it will be relatively quick. As you can see here, I'm on my home page that I created. Here's the view in the browser. And I've already added a reference here to my style sheet. I'm going to put it in the includes folder under CSS, the CSS folder, and I'm going to call it style.css. So let's create that. File, save as, and here you see my website includes CSS. Style dot CSS, save. Okay, so I'm just going to start at the top and work my way down in styling elements as we go. And the first thing I'm going to do is set a default font size for my HTML element. So I'm going to say, oh, that's tiny. That's a little bit better. HTML font size 16px, which is equivalent to 12 points and 1 ephemeral unit. They're all the same. So you could use either measurement or any of those measurements, I should say. They're all correct if you want to use the default, or if you want to, by default, make your font larger. Yes, save anyway. You can see I'll do that just so you can see what that would look like. There, it's a little bit bigger, but I'm going to stick with the default. Okay, so the next one, obviously, we skip the head because there's nothing really to style there, and we're going to do the body. And you'll note when you look at this that, oh, let me refresh this. Oh, well, let me save this and refresh this. Okay, that there's a little bit of margin here on the left and on the right. So we're going to get rid of that by setting the margin equal to 0. And while I'm in the body, I want to set a default font. I'm not a big fan of Times New Roman, and the default serif font, as you may recall from the lectures, that is used for, it's considered to be the default web safe serif font, is Georgia. So I'm going to use that one. Font family Georgia serif. So save that. And there, that's changed it. I think that's a little bit better. Also, you'll see the margin is gone on the left here. Okay, so next up we have the header and the H1 element inside that. So let's style that. Header, I want to give a background color. So I'm going to say background color light blue. And the H1, I'm going to change the color of the H1. I'll call it dark blue. And now here, you'll see that there's some white space above this by default. And when I add this background color, and because this is a header, the header pushes the default. This is a margin. That's what I'm inartfully trying to say. So you'll see, let me save this and you'll see what I'm trying to say here. So because this is a margin, there's white space here. So what I need to do is remove this margin from the H1, but I can add it back in padding. I'm going to add 1 ephemeral unit. I don't know actually how much space that is, but we'll find out. Okay, it's maybe not quite that much space. So we'll change that. Let's see. So maybe 0.5 ephemeral units for the top and bottom, and 1 for the left and right. Yeah, okay, that looks better. All right. Oh, yeah, this is on your homework, the font style. I can't remember whether I asked you to get a Google Fonts, import a Google font uh, for the H1 or the H2 tags, but I'll show you how to do it for the H1. So I'll add a little space up here, and let's go to this fonts.google.com. I want a sans serif font, not handwriting, monospace. I don't really want that. Okay. I've used Oswald a lot before, so I'm going to try something new. Ubuntu as well. What looks good? Okay, this is interesting. This deucistosis, I don't really know how to say it. I'm going to say deucis. Okay, so you'll see to add it, I clicked on the, here, I'll remove it so I can add it again. I clicked on the add button, which added this little section here, family selected. So I clicked on that, and now it shows you how to reference it in the head of your file and also how to use it in your style, but it also shows you how to import it, which is what we're going to do. I'm going to just copy this and paste it here. So now I can reference this font, and the way to reference the font is like so. So I'm just going to copy this and paste it here. And now we'll go back and close this to our page, and there you have it. That's kind of nice. I think I might want to do some more styling for that too. So let's try changing the font weight. Let's say font weight bold. Okay, that's nice. It made it a little bit more, a little bit of a thicker stroke there. Now to further emphasize it, I'm gonna make it in all caps. I don't know if I'm gonna like that, but yeah, I don't think I like that. We'll just leave it like that for now. It needs something though. Or maybe I'll switch the font later, I don't know. Anyway, let's move on to the next area. So that would be our navigation. Okay, fun stuff. So the first thing I want to do is style the nav, and I'm going to give that a background color as well. I might as well go with this dark blue for the lettering, the same lettering that's used here. So we'll say background color dark blue. And that's really all we need to say for the nav part. So refresh. Oh, no, actually, oh no, we need to do that for the UL. So within the nav, you have an unordered list, but you also have an unordered list here. So if I'm styling and I just want to style the unordered list that is in this nav and not the one that is down here in my aside, I need to reference the nav. So to do that, I just preface my declaration with nav, and then, oh, not li, we're not there yet, ul. Okay. So you see, first off, this white space, which we want to get rid of. And it's the same thing as with the H1 inside the header, the UL inside the nav. You need to remove the margin. So I will do that and show you. I got rid of it. Now the other thing about this unordered list, you see how it has the bullets, and we don't want that for our navigation. That looks kind of tacky. So I'm going to say, oops, list style type none, and that gets rid of it. And is there something else I need? I think probably I should add, oh, padding. I should remove padding, excuse me. Padding 0. There we go. Okay. Now on to the next part. We want to style each individual list item. So again, we preface with nav because we only wanted to style the list items under the navigation. Excuse me. And obviously, I want these to be side by side. So I'm going to say display inline block. Okay, perfect. Now they're side by side. And I want to add some padding to them. So I'm going to say padding, I don't know, 1 EM is kind of always my default. Okay, that doesn't look too bad. Now we need to fix the links, obviously. So we'll change the color. I am going to, again, preface with nav and then A for the link, because here you're using the A tag for your link. I'm going to use the light blue for the color, just to kind of do the inverse of this top part. And I also want to remove this text decoration here, the underline. So I'm going to say text decoration none. Okay, that's pretty good. But now we probably want to add some action for hovering. And also now I'm feeling a little weird about this not being lined up with that. So we'll come back here, and instead of padding 0, we are going to say padding 0, 1 EM. So if you'll recall, this means no padding on the top, 1 ephemeral unit left and right. Now, if I wanted to make sure there was I had all this space to the right to use for list elements for my navigation, then I could go in and say 0, 1 EM, 0, 0. But I'm not really too concerned about that. I think too many navigation elements is a common problem, so I prefer to leave it as is. Okay, so the hover action. Now, I'm going to inspect this so I can show you something. When you style hovering action, and that is the :hover state that we talked about. Let me just come down here and write that so you know what I'm talking about. This state that you would attach to an element. If you were to attach it to just the link itself, then this is where that style would happen. So typically on navigations, here, I'll show you the College of Technology website, for example. So you see how when I hovered over departments, this background color changed from the cougar red to this kind of brick red, and the link changed from this is kind of a cream color to white. This happens all the way around this list element, and it's not confined to just the link itself. And in fact, I can even inspect it to show you that. Well, of course, this is responsive, so. But you see, that's the link, and this is the list item. Link, list item. I don't know if you can see the difference in the color, but now when I'm hovering over the link, the area for the list item is all orange, and when I hover over the list item, it's all blue, because that is the area for the list item. Anyway, that's just to let you know, obviously we'll be adding the hover state to the list item, not to the link. So I'm going to say nav, li, hover. And I'm going to change the color to white and the background color, I don't know, to black, just to make it easy. Okay, so there, that works. Except, oh no, excuse me. This is where maybe you do have to have, I'm styling the link color, so I need to have a hover option for that as well. So hover, color, white. Oops. There. Okay. Well, we'll fix that later. So now all we need to do is fix the rest of the page. So, although, actually, here, let me do this one little thing. I want to change the font here. I'm just going to use Verdana. So let's find out if I do it at the top level. If it will apply to everything in the element, and it does. Okay. That works. Again, still sort of. Next, we do the section. Oh, you know what? Before we do the section, I want to add the div here, ID. We're going to call it main, main content. And it's just going to surround the section. And now, what I'm going to do up here, before, well no, actually I'm going to do it inside, I'm going to do it inside the body. Before I do anything else, I'm going to add, I'm going to add a link. And the href for that link is going to be an anchor. So anchor just basically allows you, when you click on something, you go straight to that content. So I'm going to make it anchor to this. That's why I've set this ID, because you remember the IDs in CSS are referenced with the hash or pound sign, depending on what generation you were from. And then I'm going to add a link skip to main content. So here you'll see now this shows up. Well, I don't really want it to show up. So by default, I'll come up here and say, oh, I should probably give it, yeah, let me give that a an ID. So this is going to be ID skip. There's a fancier way of doing this, and we'll go over it in class. I just don't really have time to go through it right now. But for right now, let's just say display none, so that by default, this does not show. Okay, back to our main content. The section, the only thing I'm going to do with the section is say the width, set the width to 100%. I'm sorry, I'm indenting my items so that I can read it better. Yeah, that's good. Now everything is copacetic. Actually, I think I'm also going to set it to display block. So section display block. I mean, by default, I don't think it's really going to do anything. And the width is 100%. Okay. Okay, yeah. See, that didn't really do anything. But now we're going to look at the article and the aside. So I want to style these so that the article is on the left and my aside is on the right. And I want the article to take up 2/3 of the page and the aside to take up obviously the remaining 1/3. So let's see, article, I want it to be on the left, so I'm going to say float left and width 67%. And my aside will be float right, and the width will be 33%, excuse me. Okay, there we go. So this obviously is a problem. You don't want your footer to be right up against the content. Obviously, this is shorter than that, and this is listed after that, so it's just floating up there by default. But we can fix that. So, and you'll see there's nothing really. I mean, I could probably add some styling to the div, but we're really going to save that till next week, so I'm not going to touch that now. Instead, we're just going to style the footer to fix it. And I want to preface this styling by saying that we're not going to do the styling this way after next week, because you'll learn a much better way to make this happen. And I can show you why this is not the best way to do what I'm about to do. So we're going to give this a background color. I don't know. I'm just going to go with black. Makes life easy. And color is white. And I'm going to say display block. I'm going to set the width to 100%. Now, I want this to be on the bottom of my page. So one sure way to do this, at least to make it at the bottom of your window, and I will show you the distinction in a moment, is by adding the position attribute. So we're going to say position absolute. And when you use absolute, by default, it's going to be up here in the upper left. So any reference you give it other than that, I'm like trying to figure out how the best way to tell you this. So you can move it from the upper left, from this position right here, by using the by using either the directions, basically, left, right, top, bottom. And what I'm going to do is bottom, because I want it to sit on the bottom, and bottom is 0. Basically what this is telling this position absolute is I want this to be 0 pixels from the bottom. But, and this is the caveat, and I'm going to show this to you so you can see what I'm talking about, this is the bottom of the window, not the bottom of the page. But because there's not enough content, it's going to look like it's at the bottom of the page. But what happens when I do this? I think that was enough paragraphs. Let's find out. Okay. So you see how my text just kind of cuts off and falls into the footer. Obviously, your default behavior for a footer would be it pushes to the bottom of the document and not the bottom of the window. But you see what happens when you have to scroll, and it stays where it stays. So next week, we're going to have a very easy way using Flexbox to prevent that issue. And also it helps a lot with responsive design. So it's going to be great next week. All right, so some other things just to clean up the style a little bit. This text is really too close to the side here, so I'm going to go back, and this is a paragraph. I want to add some padding around my paragraph. I'll put it here since it's inside the article. Although really, you have a paragraph in your footer as well, so you can put it up here. The order of things really, it only matters if you're modifying something that you're later changing, and what you change affects how you modify it, if that makes sense. I'm over explaining, but this was all in the lectures. So I'm going to add some padding. No, you know what? I'm going to add a margin. Okay, and again with the 1 ephemeral unit, that looks a little bit better. Okay, that's about it. I mean, I think this kind of walks you through some of the easier things that you can do just to get your page styled. And this is, you know, for the most part, with this little amount of content that we have, it works pretty well, except you get down to a certain point where this aside is a little difficult to read. But we will correct that next week when we look at responsive design. We're going to correct all these issues that we have with this styling next week. Okay?